Okay, so the idea was to start a new series in Contraminds called the Be Extraordinary series. I wanted to double down on how can a career professional be extraordinary in his or her work. So what separates the average worker? The fundamental problem today is that how am I average? How do I understand if I'm average? And if I have to cross that chasm and become extraordinary, how do I become extraordinary?
Great. So really a great question, Ashwin. I've been searching for this answer, and I've had this question for a long time, right? And the most interesting thing is there's nobody called average, right? It's about, I would say, were you inspired and did you get inspired is really what differentiates the extraordinary from the average. That's one difference that I've seen after having spoken to many guests across multiple countries, across multiple professions. Okay? When you really look at the ones who are extraordinary, one of the most important difference that I saw was the fact that their purpose, their mindset, and their practice were all aligned. And that differentiated the average from the extraordinary. So what do I mean by purpose? The purpose means that do I find a meaning in what I do every day? Is it what I want to do? And I'm going to be spending almost 17, 18 hours, 12 hours in office. And that's a significant amount of time that you spend every day, right? And that's a majority of your life. And therefore, if you don't have meaning and a purpose to why you are doing what you are doing, then you don't do a good job at the end of the day, right? So therefore, finding meaning is the most important thing, and that's really what I think you should explore and find out. That's really what I found most of them have in their life. That's the first thing. And because they have a meaning, what then happens is that their mindsets are set to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to see these barriers. I believe these are the challenges that I will face. I think this is the mountain I need to climb, right? And therefore the mindset is pretty much prepared for achieving the purpose. So therefore the purpose allows you to have the mindset ready for the challenges that lie ahead of the person, right? And then the practice is really about saying now that the mindset is set, nothing stops them, okay? So what they do every day, consistently, right? What they do every day consistently, day in and day out, and which I call relentless sturdiness. Coming in every day, doing this stuff every day is something that they excel at, right? So clearly, the best and the extraordinary have their purpose, mindset, and practice aligned. And that's what differentiates the average from the extraordinary.
Right. I want to go deeper into that. Now you said purpose, mindset, and practice. Can you define purpose? For me, if you take the career professional, the first phase for them is the early phase where they're out of college, they're joining a company or an organization or an institute, whatever their work entitles them to do. That the first 7 years, they might have a different purpose. Then middle management might have a different purpose. Once you go into senior management, you might have a different purpose. But can you go deeper into explaining what is the purpose that you mean?
So let me give you some examples, and let me tell you that the purpose that I talk about is really what you want to be. It's about what you dream you want to be, right? That's really what I think the purpose is all about. Let me give you an example of, say, a cricketer like Rahul Dravid, right? So when you look at Rahul Dravid as a cricketer, the dream and his purpose was being the best cricketer to have played. That's really the purpose with which he started, and not that he had the talent of a Tendulkar or probably the off drive of a Saurav Ganguly, right? He was somebody who was grinding his way to actually being a legend, right? But his purpose was, I have to be amongst the best, right? That is the purpose with which he started, right? The fact that he started with that purpose, his mindset was pretty much set saying, I have to work hard. I'm not as talented as a Tendulkar, right? And therefore, what I need to do every day is probably do hours of practice. Maybe I need to be in the nets every day, long hours. I need to, face different sets of bowlers, right? So therefore, the mindset was, he was prepared for the challenge that lay ahead of him, right? And then what he did was the fact that I have to be doing it every day, be it Australia, be it England, be it South Africa, different pitches. I need to be at my best. And therefore, the work that he did every day, the work ethic that he started building to ensure that the practice and the mindset and the purpose got aligned is really what took him to where he became till he retired. Okay. But that was not where he stopped, right? Because his purpose was to actually say, I want to be the best cricketer, but I also want to create the best cricketers, right? Which India has ever produced. And I would like to make cricket as an institution in the country to compete with the world. If that's the purpose with which he started, and you saw him becoming not just the coach of the India A team, but he went to the under 19 team. He said that's really the best leaders are groomed, right? Therefore, he said, I'm not in it for the glamour of it, right? I'm interested in the grinding, the work that I would be doing. There's a lot of hard work that's involved. I had to work with the kids at the under 19 level. And therefore, he went there and said, let me work on it. And that's not a glamorous job. But because the purpose was clear, the fact that his mindset was saying, okay, I may need to do a lot of work with these kids. I may have to spend long hours with them, and therefore build this institution of building world's best cricketers out of our country is really the purpose with which he started. And therefore he went back and then said, okay, now let me go back to NCA. Right? And if you look at him, he's a coach of RR. So he has remained relevant even after retirement because the purpose with which he started actually ensured that his career longevity is really, really long because the purpose, the mindset and the practice with which he does things can clearly, differentiate him from the rest of the cricketers.
Correct. Right. If we take his example, when he started off, because obviously the lifespan of a career is much smaller than a career professional in IT or in any other industry, it starts off with him. I'm just trying to draw an analogy because you took cricket, took sports. It is very similar in its fundamental principles with compared to a career professional. For him, first, I'm only going to start from when he joins the Indian team. So first he has to figure out and understand what his position is. Is he playing 1 down, 2 down? Is he opening? That dynamic he has to understand. It's exactly like how we have it in as a fresher. What is your position? You need to know once you understand your position, you know what your role is. Are you an opener? Do you come in? Are you coming at a point when you have to push the run rate? Do you have to play an anchor innings? So that is where he finds his role. And then once his position and role is clear and he has the right mindset, he gets a larger responsibility of being a leader as a vice captain or a captain. Once you become a captain, then you know that you are shouldering the responsibility of a much larger workforce or a team. There it becomes most important to know when to step back from that role or responsibility, because you can't be the captain for your scope beyond your life. So you need to know when you have to end your career, and before that you need to figure out what format can I play in beyond a point. When do I have to stop playing ODI? When do I have to stop playing Test cricket? When do I have to pull back from IPL? You need to know that. And after that, once you reached a point where you are a leader, then you understand that transitioning is important for a leader. I cannot always say that I'll be the captain, I'll be the captain. And then you can't jump into captain and say that, okay, the next organic transition for a captain is to become coach. No.
Correct.
You have to transition to understanding what a coach, the skill sets of a coach are. Transition into that aspect of leadership and then staying relevant there.
Yeah.
So this is how even a person in the IT industry should understand their role.
In fact, in any industry, whether be it you are in the FMCG industry or in the consumer durable industry or in the automotive industry, whether you're in the IT industry, the difference is not very different, Ashwin, because the way I see it is when you're starting, maybe I want to be a DevOps engineer. Okay, maybe I want to be a marketing head. Okay, or I want to be a supply chain head, right? Then you have to have a vision for yourself and a purpose for yourself, saying, I have to build a supply chain as good as Apple. Maybe that's really the purpose with which you then start. Okay, because if you read the biographies of Steve Jobs and the way you look at those books, you'll realize that they would they would actually come back with a design and they would give Tim Cook this phone and then say, get it done for so many dollars, right? So he had to go back to Foxconn, find out somebody who could produce it at that price with the design uncompromised. So therefore, then you have to say, you know what, my hero is Tim Cook if I have to become the world's best supply chain professional, right? Then you go back and look at what did he do to become the best in the world, right? And how do you balance that between your purpose and then what are the things that he learned, okay, as a professional, and what are the skills that are required, right? Which is really the mindset bit, which is to say, what am I good at? Am I good at negotiations? Am I good in forecasting? Am I good in logistics? What are the things, how do I evaluate the cost of materials that go into the BOM, which is bill of materials for building a phone, right? So what are the things that I need to know? And I may not know everything. So therefore, which means that I'm self-aware that these are what I know. These are some of the things I don't know, right? Then I have to motivate myself every day saying that I don't know this, I'm not good at this, but I know I have to get better at this every day, which is really your practice, right? Therefore, you come to office every day, you just have to get better at it every day, and that's really how you become the best at it, which is really your purpose. So when your purpose and your mindset and your practice are aligned, then your ability to enjoy what you do and become extraordinary becomes relevant. So the other example for me is somebody like a Sridhar Vembu, right? He actually has taken a path which is not done by many, right? Ideally, you would want to build a software product out of the Silicon Valley, right? And he's somebody from IIT. He decided to go to Princeton. He did his PhD there, and he decided to come back at some point in time, right? But his purpose in life was to build a world-class software product out of India, and not just from the metro cities, but from, can I get the, I would say the tier 2 towns and the engineers from there, or the people from there, not even just engineers, right? How can I enable an economy of building software products out of India from tier 1, tier 2 cities, right? His purpose was actually building those kinds of products, right? Out of India for the world, right? So when he then looked back, that is his purpose, right? Now, was that easy? No, that was not easy because, you needed an infrastructure, people were not ready to build products in the cities and the towns that he wanted to set up Zoho offices, right? So he had to go back and build the Zoho School of Learning, okay, where they had to train, the rural folks to actually do programming, right? So therefore, the mindset that he decided to actually go through was the fact that it is a challenge. It is going to be hard work. It's a long grind that I have to go through, and I'm not willing to take VC money, right? Again, that's another purpose, which is I want to be privately owned, right? Therefore, the purpose was clear. Therefore, the mindset of going through the grind and the challenges was something that he was prepared for. And then the practice every day was actually ensuring that you build this world-class process of building these products out of India. And therefore, what would I do with my developers every day, with my programmers every day? How do I build my wireframes for my products? How do I build, quality in these products? How do I ship them out? What's the infrastructure needed if I'm building a SaaS product, right? So all these were things that probably were not known. But the practice of saying, okay, how should I build it? What are the processes that I need to put in? How do I ensure that I do product reviews every day? How do I set up my customer service? So clearly that practice of ensuring that it gets done is really what you have to go through the discipline of doing it rigorously every day, right? The purpose, practice, and the mindset, if you see the purpose, mindset, and the practice, have to be aligned. And that's really the reason why Zoho is where Zoho is today. And that's really where he's extraordinary, right?
Yeah.
And it's really what I think professionals need to look at.
Yeah. I think where also a person like Sridhar Vembu stands out is more for me in the mindset, because he didn't follow the template of other IT companies having to set up in a tier 1 city, construct a big building, get the best of talent, go do campus interviews, get the IITs and the IIMs, pay them huge salaries, put them on bench, figure out what the project is, and go that route. And beyond a point, those are the kind of companies that started saying that India has an unemployable workforce.
Correct.
They were only blaming the system. What his mindset was, I will change the system. I will reinterpret what efficiency is. I will go to the grassroots. I will pick talent. I will train them. I will make them work within the grassroots. So there is a generational shift in that workforce. That person will be the first graduate in his family, and he has a significant shift in lifestyle.
Absolutely. And therefore, Ashwin, the example that I always give is that would you want to go to a mediocre doctor?
No.
Right?
Correct.
So therefore, if you want to go to the best doctor has to have a purpose, saying that this is the way, I would treat my patients. This is really how I would run my profession, right? So, I would actually do all of this. I should be the best at what I do. Then the mindset of then saying, okay, what are the skill sets and challenges that I will face? How do I prepare myself for it? And therefore, what would I do every day? Okay, to ensure that my purpose is there. So therefore, you have to take examples from adjacent industries and then start applying it in a corporate world, right? Because a corporate world actually does not teach you these things, right? And even from our schooling days or college days, these are not taught to you, right? And therefore, you have to spend enough time looking at the purpose, why you are doing what you are doing, and then getting your mind ready for what it takes to achieve your purpose and doing it relentlessly every day, irrespective of, any short-term gratification that you might get or not, right? And I always say efforts and outcomes are non-linear, right? And the extraordinary ones understand that. And that's really what differentiates the average from the extraordinary. And as I think back, if there's one more example that I can give you is Nandan Nilekani, right? If you look at Nandan, at a very, very important stage of his life, which is he was a fairly senior professional, right? Because his purpose was clear that he wanted to change the way India IT had to, be built, right? The public goods that we talk about today, right? The purpose actually made it important for him to shift and jump from a private enterprise to a public enterprise, right? So he moved from being head of a private company to becoming a part of the government, right? And once the purpose was clear, right, that he would build the best public goods infrastructure for the world, and it has to be led from India, right? Once that purpose was clear, then the mindset was, now I'll work through the government. I know it may not be efficient. I know I may face a lot of resistance, right? So the mindset was about saying, now how do I ensure that my purpose gets fulfilled, right? And the practice of then doing it every day, right? Saying that, okay, how do I run my teams? How should I tell them the story? How should I give them the big picture? How do I get them aligned? How do I make them deliver to a timeline like a private limited company that I worked for? And he doesn't have a command and control structure like he had in a private limited company. He had to work through collaboration. He had to go through a democratic process of, aligning people. And the mindset was ready for it because the purpose was clear, right? So therefore, when you actually have the purpose, mindset, and the practice aligned, I think you have an opportunity to become extraordinary.
But how does purpose, mindset, and practice align? How does that happen? How do you know when your purpose and your practice and your mindset have aligned?
See, I personally think, Ashwin, that it's a process of discovery. And most importantly, don't follow the herd mentality, right? Don't follow the herd mentality, right? Because which is to say, you know what? Oh, I did my graduation. I go to this college. I want to work for this large company. But if you don't enjoy doing that, but you keep coming back every day being dissatisfied, then it doesn't, what you do every day is not linked to what your purpose is, right? So therefore, spend some time reflecting on what is it that energizes you, right? And what is your priority, right? And that is something that I think we have been able to do with, after having spoken to so many leaders, so many guests in Contra Minds. We have recently come out with what is called as a My True Compass. It's almost like a professional compass where you can discover for yourself, right? What are your priorities as far as your purpose is concerned? If career is your purpose, right, then you have to actually look back and say, I always say that, there could be a purpose which is family could be a purpose, money could be a purpose, okay? Your well-being could be a purpose, okay? Spirituality and community could be a purpose, okay? You go and build an NGO company for all you might know. You can still do that, right? So therefore, if your purpose becomes clear, right, then what happens is that what you do with that purpose in terms of your mindset becomes clear, and therefore your practices, right? So therefore, what we have done in this Contra Minds My True Compass really is it's an exploration where you can actually discover for yourself what are your purpose. Then you actually have a battery of questions, okay, around how do you really handle the emotions? Are you self-aware of what you're doing every day? Are you actually having the discipline of getting it done every day, right? And how do you practice it every day, right? So therefore, if you have a mindset and purpose, but you don't practice it every day, it's almost like saying that, I want to lose weight, but that's just the intent, right? My purpose and, mindset is to lose weight, but the fact is that do you practice it every day? So just like how you actually do it for fitness, I think there's also a need to do it in your profession, right?
Right.
And that's really what My True Compass does. So you take this battery of, tests, you then, instantly it gives you a kind of report, okay, which tells you, what are your priorities, which from a purpose point of view, how do you see your purpose, and is there some alignment, okay, between your purpose, this, and the mindset in terms of what it takes to do. So therefore, you may actually see that, career is my purpose, right? Being top of my career is my purpose, but I may not have enough, tenacity to motivate myself. Okay, I may not be self-aware that these are my weaknesses, right? And therefore, do I work on them every day? So therefore, when you take this My True Compass test, or the exploration as we call it, right? What it does is that it just gives you a snapshot, okay, of who you are, okay, what are my strengths and how can I leverage them, okay, and how can I work on them. And that's really a starting point, right? Just gives you a perspective, and that's when you actually say, you know what, if, for example, money is my purpose, okay, then the most important thing is then then look for a company where, that purpose is, achievable. But then it's almost like a graphic, audio equalizer that you look at, because, in some parts of your life, you may want your career to be, have a lot of focus, right? But maybe in the, maybe in some other time in your phase of life, you would want health and family to be more important. Okay. So it's about how you balance this across your career span. That's really what I think people with extraordinary success have achieved. So the example, what you said, and in fact, you articulated it very well, which is to say, let's look at a Rahul Dravid. Okay. So his graphic equalizer was, am I good in T20 or am I good in Test cricket? Okay. Then the next question is, okay, we have to win the World Cup. After 1983, we have not won the World Cup. So how do we build a balanced team? Okay, there is no job description. Let me become a wicket keeper. Okay. So therefore, he was the wicket keeper for that World Cup, right? In one of the World Cups where I think we lost in the final, right? So therefore, there's no job description. He said, no, I have to do what my team does. So therefore, that's what he did, right? And then he said, okay, now this audio equalizer then went back and said, you know what, if my purpose is to create an institution of world-class cricketers, right? Then, he basically then moved and then became a coach, right? Therefore, the way he extended it based on the purpose, okay, and that aligned with, the way he earned his reputation, the way he spent time, the way he, prepared his mindset to succeed, what he did every day in terms of the workouts that he had to do. He had to really realign it every 5 years. So if you are somebody, okay, who wants to be extraordinary, I would say start looking at it in this manner. Okay, actually take the My True Compass test now. Look at where the strengths are. Then start looking at it and saying, okay, these are the areas that I think I have to provide. Some I would call it a stimulus to my purpose, right? So this is really I have to do. Therefore, you could actually learn it and say these are some of the things that I would focus. Then maybe 2 years, 3 years later, take the My True Compass test again. Right? Then you get a sense of, am I moving in the right direction, right? So that is something that you do, and that's really your path to being extraordinary.
Right. And the My True Compass exploration is available on the Contraminds website.
Yeah, it's pretty much, we have built it as a platform, right? So you can go there, you log in, and I'm sure, you can pay online, right?
Yeah.
And what you do is that you can register yourself, pay online, take this test, and the report is actually emailed to you, and then you can actually look at it and then say, is this what I am? Do I have the mindset to what my purpose is? And therefore, am I having the right regimen, right? To
Right.
actually help me achieve my purpose. So I think it just gives you a snapshot, and it's a beautiful snapshot.
Right.
And I have taken it myself. Okay.
Hmm.
And I think it just gives me a nice snapshot of who I am.
So therefore, it works for people across the spectrum of being a professional.
Absolutely. For entry level people, I think for entry level people, just lets you set up the early phase of your career. Okay. So that you are preparing yourself for it. Okay. Which is really what I said, right? So if, for example, you are somebody in a procurement in a company, it could be any company that you're working for, then you actually say, this is really if career is my purpose, then Tim Cook is your hero, right? Therefore, learn what are the things that are needed, and then you then start to do it. Or if you're an if you are say an enterprise architect, or if you're a cloud architect, okay, then you go back and then say, who's the best in that business, right? And that's what I want to be. Then you go back and look at what it takes to achieve that, right? And then practice it every day. It's not going to happen overnight, right? So therefore, I would say that's really how you can get extraordinary. That's really what the ContraMinds My True Compass is all about.
Right. There are a lot of, so over the course of our conversation, there are questions that I've written that I would want to ask you, but I think each of those questions deserves their own time and space. So I think we'll end the episode here today. This has been a fantastic start to the series called Be Extraordinary, I think so. I'll meet you next week. I have a whole lot of questions for you, so I'll pick your brain next week. You have a great day. Thank you so much for your time, Swami.
Thanks, Ashwin. Lovely and very insightful questions, and it was great, having a conversation with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Swami. Same here.